What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Game Plan. It's NFL Week 15, and we're looking at the best bets, some DFS plays as well. And with me, as always, to break it all down, John Statsational Alessia from the Sharp app. John, you went, I think, 9-3 on the show last week on your picks. Pretty good stuff.
It's a good week, man. It's been a good couple of weeks. The week prior was pretty good as well. So, yeah, we'll see if we can keep this hot streak going.
Love it. The big one last week was the Jets pizza bet, which pays off. Jets +3. John said, don't take the plus points. Take the money line, or even better, give a few points. Jets going to win that game, and they did. Let's go Jets. Let's see if we can do it again here.
Yeah, look, I wound up making one change. So I flipped. I think I had Detroit on the show, and then I didn't like that one. I flipped over to Chicago later on. But we've been hitting some of these pizza bets too for the last. Yeah, I usually don't give them out, but I'm like, you know what? Let's give out some of these pizza bets, some plus money bets. I know a lot of the people out there enjoy those, so I've been getting some good feedback on those. We'll see if we get another couple of them for you guys today.
Let's get those plus money bets going. I'm trying to print some. I'm trying to print some cash here. So
holiday season, you need it.
Yeah, I got Christmas presents to buy. I got bonuses to dish out to the people. A lot going on. This is the time. Wife wants a new Hermes bag.
Because I'm sure it's needed. I'm sure it's necessary.
I need a few pizza bets for that one.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. But yeah, we got another big one. This is a crazy week because of how it's all split up. Got a 3-game slate on Saturday coming up. Got a big slate on Sunday, Monday Night Football. So much going on for the next few weeks in the NFL, the way they switch up all these slates. Next week is even crazier with the Christmas slate. So we got a lot of football to be played, and there's a lot of betting to be done. So let's do it in an advantaged way. And let's get started, John. We're going to jump right to the Saturday 3-game slate and go from there for this breakdown, as most people will be seeing this after Thursday or maybe after this Chargers-Raiders game. So I'm just going to skip that one. We're going to right to the Saturday slate. And the first game on the docket, Vikings at the Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point favorites in this one. Backup QB in the game, Browning. Vikings are moving. They got a backup QB as well. It looks like they're going to Nick Mullins for this game. And so it's backup versus backup, disaster versus more disaster. But both these teams have been kind of winning with their backup QBs. But the game is set at a 40.5-point total here. Looks like for the Vikings, Alexander Madison may not play, which may get a full game of Ty Chandler. So that's some DFS interest right there. It also looks like for the Vikings, Justin Jefferson is saying he's going to play. So, John, this is a weird one. Backup quarterbacks. Do you like betting these kind of games? You just take the underdog and hope for the best?
Well, if you don't like betting these games, you haven't bet any games in the NFL this year. So, yeah. I mean, it's like even the starters are basically backups. I mean, this has just been the worst crop of quarterbacks I think I've ever seen in the NFL. So, I mean, what's the big deal? Nick Mullins, Dobbs. I mean, I really don't care. Although Browning, I think, looked pretty good. So I'm fine here on the Browning side of this game. But I think the over is the play. I think 40.5 is a little low for this total. I think what you're having is it's basically you're getting a little bit of the line staying deflated here just because of that, how bad that Minnesota game was last week. I mean, 3-0. I don't think I've ever seen a 3-0. I don't think there's ever been a 3-0 game without severe weather being a factor.
Jets have done it. Jets have done it before.
3-0.
I do have a memory. I have a childhood memory of a 3-0 game.
It's possible, man. The last one I remember, I think, was that New England, that classic like 1980s when the guy came out with the snow shovel thing, the snow blower, and basically cleared the path for the kicker to kick. That's always a classic game from like the early 80s. But yeah, 3-0 is unbelievable in pretty good conditions. So I think because of that, we're getting a little bit of value here to the over. I think Minnesota should score in this game against the Cincinnati. The Vegas defense is not terrible. So that Vegas defense is not that easy to score on. 3 points, it's a little crazy, but I think you can put points up on Cincinnati, and you should be able to put points up on Minnesota. Just again, Vegas, as decent as their defense is, their offense is just atrocious. That whole AOC thing that's going on there, a mess. Browning, I've got confidence in. they're going to put points up on the board here today.
I just want to say it's crazy that they haven't gone back to Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, they're just like, no, we don't care. They don't care about winning. They're just like, lost season anyway. We don't care. It's a tough one because the Bengals offense is more competent than the version of what we saw from the Vikings with Dobbs. But I don't know if Nick Mullins is different. I like the overplay. I like where you're going with it because I definitely don't want to pick a side on this game. If I'm leaning, though, I would lean Bengals because we've seen at least Browning look okay. And they're at home. And they have the better running back. So, like, there's some factors in the Bengals' favor that I would probably be leaning their way on the -3. As far as the DFS stuff from this game, it's really, it's everybody's in play. I would for the Saturday game, sure. Jamar Chase on the Bengals. Why not? Definitely Ty Chandler is going to be a big play on this one as well. And I don't think I'm going Justin Jefferson or any wide receivers on the Vikings, or not going to get super excited about that just because they're expensive and they have a shitty quarterback. So I don't like that combination all that much. All right, next up, we got the Steelers at the Colts, game 2 of the 3-gamer. Steelers at the Colts. In this case, the Colts are 1.5-point home favorites with a 42.5-point total. So another lower total game. Colts mild favorites here. Looks like we'll get another Moss game at the running back position for the Colts. I think the Colts have looked okay offensively with Gardner Minshew in there, and the Steelers, not so good. Not so good. Kenny Pickett, I don't think he's the guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the line actually looks a little lower than I would have anticipated, which is I like the Pittsburgh side of this game. I just thought I'd be getting more points. So I think Pittsburgh wins this game. I was hoping to get 3. I'm still going to take it at the 1.5. I like the Pittsburgh side. I think they do bounce back here. They get the W. The total, I think, is spot on right where it needs to be at 43. So I don't want to touch that total. I was kind of hoping for a lower total. These Pittsburgh games have tended to give us some low totals, but I think we're pretty spot on from a DFS standpoint. I don't expect it's odd. I like the Minnesota game a lot better DFS wise than I do this Pittsburgh game. Yet the total is lower on that Minnesota game. So I'll take a side here. I will bet Pittsburgh regardless of the line. I'll probably just take them on the money line, and I think they win this game outright.
I like it. I like the boldness of the call. Money line for the Steelers right now is plus 105, so you don't have to give up that 1.5. How do you feel about
Caesars? We could get plus 110 over at Caesars if you have Caesars.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. I think just in terms of DFS angles, it's those running backs from the Steelers that still look good. And I saw you got to still go to Moss. He's getting all the volume, even though he hasn't done anything with it last few weeks. Like, it's a 3-game slate. You can't really skip anybody. Pittman has been great. Pass catchers on the Steelers, not so good. So, you want to take a chance with, is Trubisky playing or are they back to Pickett actually?
I haven't seen anything yet on that game. I don't know which I'd prefer, to be honest with you, but
I think that matters.
I think they win this game. I think defensively is where they win this game against Indiana. I think they'll play well defensively and come back here. So I do like Pittsburgh as a bounce back play.
Let's see here. Trubisky will make a second start, so that is confirmed. I just want to now, as I'm kicking back in the memory banks here, Trubisky started out horrible last week and just throwing up ducks, and then kind of turned it around towards the end of the game and started looking okay, I guess. Ran for a touchdown, which was nice to see. Sort of like he got his mojo back a little bit, I would say, in that game. So while it doesn't inspire a ton of confidence, I actually think Trubisky's a better start for the Steelers than what Pickett is. Like, to me,
I like the mobility. I like the mobility in the game. We watched that. Yeah, that Thursday game wasn't the greatest last week. It was interesting for survivor pools as well, which were a mess again last week for those still remaining. But yeah, I think they bounce back. I don't know if I'd rather have Trubisky or not, to be honest with you. But I think either way, again, I'm looking more at the defensive side of that. I think they're going to be able to limit the Colts offense.
Okay. I like it. Steelers. Boom. All right. Next up, we got the Broncos at the Lions. It's the Saturday night special. Broncos are 4.5-point road underdogs in this one. And the game total is the highest on this 3-game slate, set at 47.5. So Lions minus 4.5 at home in the Dome. What do you think, John? You got a play here?
Definitely have a play. Give me the dog again. I really like this. I like Denver plus the points. I've been on Denver now for quite a few weeks. This is just a different team. I think we're still getting value on the Denver side. The Denver, they should have won that game against Houston. This team is playing much better now. This is going to be a playoff team, and I think we're getting value here at the 4.5. I think if we started the season when Denver got on this run and this was like week 6 of the season, I think this would be a lower line. So I think we're getting some value. You could get 4.5. I like that. I'm leaning towards the under as well because this you're also, for the same reasons, you're getting lines based on what this Denver defense was and not what they are right now. This Denver defense is playing a whole lot better as of late. And there's some issues with Detroit. Now Detroit's at home, better team at home, but we did see them lose at Thanksgiving at home. We're seeing some chinks in the armor from this Detroit team. I think Denver goes in. This is another one. I like it outright. I'll take Denver on the money line, and my lean would be towards the under.
I like it. This game, there's definitely a lot of fantasy potential here on both sides. But if you're liking Denver, I think, it's interesting because Detroit has been pretty good against the run. But I think if Denver's winning this game, Javonte Williams is going to be a massive part of that. So I think Javonte Williams makes for an interesting spot. Both of the Detroit running backs are going to be in play here as well. Montgomery and Gibbs. Denver has been playing better, but they're still allowing a lot of yards to opposing running backs, even in recent weeks.
You say Detroit's been good against the run, but not as of recent. So if you look at them on the whole for the season, they've been good. But over the last 5, not as good. And we know, like, the same thing with Denver. Like, Denver was just atrocious against the run because they gave up all those yardage to Miami back in week 2, whatever it was. But they've been okay, not great, but they've been okay against the run. But they've been really stout against the pass in the last 5-6 weeks. So, it's a different game here. I think they're going to be able. I think Denver will be able to run the ball.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, they should be able to run the football, and that's how they get there, right? Denver's not really going to be this high flying passing attack. They haven't done that all year long. So, from DFS purposes, this game absolutely stands out as the best one of the 3-game slate. But that doesn't mean that, Russell Wilson is the QB I'm targeting. Jared Goff looks really interesting in this game as well. Like, there's not that many good quarterbacks on this slate. It's Trubisky, Minshew, Browning, Wilson, and Goff. So it's pretty low end. I think you have to pull from everything. But Amon-Ra for the Lions side is going to be one of the most popular plays on this 3-gamer. And I like all 3 running backs in this one for DFS purposes. So interesting game there from a DFS perspective, from a fantasy perspective. And John's going with the underdog again.
Shocker.
Love those dogs. I like it. And I can see it. Denver, you have been on the Denver bandwagon for weeks and weeks, and that has absolutely been smashing. So why not keep it going? I like a winter dome game.
Why would you like a winter dome game?
I just like domes. I like not worrying about weather at all for football. I think that's a factor I don't enjoy.
From a DFS standpoint, absolutely. Yeah. From a betting factor. Yeah.
I've had enough non-offensive games already this year that I don't need like more factors causing these shitty quarterbacks. Half of them are third stringers to not be able to complete passes. Like let's I like offense. I like scoring.
Yeah. It's part of my my angst when I'm doing baseball is like I've got enough to worry about with statistics and everything else, and now I got to handicap whether it's going to rain and then whether they're going to cancel the game. Like nothing drives me crazier than having to do that all summer long. I do agree with you from that point. Like if I don't have to handicap weather, just take one of those things out of my my brain that I have to worry about.
When have we ever been right about the weather? Like it's supposed to be windy and then the game goes well, or it's supposed to be rainy and they're throwing like crazy. Like it's such a thing to ignore anyway.
You would think in 2023 we could predict weather a little bit better, but it's not very predictable.
No. Reminder though, as we are about to move on to the NFL Week 15 main slate, John's over at Sharp App giving out plays, but also teaching the members how to use our incredible tools, including the signature Proptimizer tool, which has been, I think this is the ultimate tool in existence for betting on player props. There's no better projection model. A lot of the other tools out there right now are just comparing odds across various books. We do that, but in addition to it, we add in an elite projection model that has been printing across all sports, NBA, NFL, and everything. I'll give you an example here. So let's see, for tonight's game, random, you've got the over. Actually, the Pittsburgh game. Yeah. That's not tonight. Yeah, there we go. There is some.
Go to the matchup. You could change the matchups. And
yeah, no, I just want to show this one because I think it's really interesting that, like with Zach Moss, you got an over on receiving yards. The projection model has it at 18. The books have it at 13.5. We can first compare all the books to find the best spot, see what's been going on the last 10 with this player. Obviously, Moss hasn't been starting. He was starting for these few games, and he was starting for these games, right? And here was that stretch where Jonathan Taylor was in there. So guys hitting that number frequently.
Yeah, when he starts. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically the Proptimizer tool. We do this across all sports. It's an awesome tool. And if you're watching this, you're on the DFS Army YouTube channel. You want to check this out. Promo code DFSA20 gets you 20% off a subscription to Sharp. Check it out. See if you like it. There's a Discord. There's a betting community there. They're crushing it in the Discord with the staffers giving out plays every day. Mutt, by the way, has gone 17-3 in his last 20 bet of the day plays. I just tail it now. It's crazy. At some point, he's got to go back. No one can hit that much, but that's what's been going on in the Sharp Discord. So make sure to check it out. Get in there. Promo code DFSA20. It's on sharp.app. Promo code in the description, but just go to sharp.app, get signed up, check it out. If you like betting on sports and you want to learn how to bet on sports and be an advantage bettor, this is the place to learn. And John is giving out every play. You can tail them along with all of the Sharp App Pros and the AI models and everything else. It's really important, just like with DFS Army, that you don't just have access to incredible tools for betting and DFS, but you learn how to use them properly, how to manage your bankroll, how to understand what unit size is, how to be an advantaged bettor. So make sure you check out Sharp App today. Go check it out. All right, John. How was that promo?
It was very good. Excellent.
Seemed enthusiastic about it.
It's I think the people will be enthusiastic. Certainly, certainly when they get over to the Sharp App, if they're not already. I know we got a lot of DFS Army people over there, and they're all pretty happy with it. So
when we get to Tommy DeVito, we'll have you weigh in on the great argument that we've been having here on the channel that you're gonna learn about real soon.
Okay.
Look forward to that, guys. Everybody who's been watching the shows knows what's coming. Tommy D.
I hope it's about food.
It is. It is a food debate.
All right, good.
All right. Bears at the Browns. Sunday football. Main slate. The Browns are 3-point home favorites in this one. Rolling out, I guess, Joe Flacco once again. Probably. The Bears on the road looked really good last week. Had my all-in play on DJ Moore that smashed. Loved Fields. Didn't do as much. Fields didn't win the tournament for us. Had a nice game, 25-pointer, but not enough to take down the million. But that was mostly what happened with the Bears offense last week. Browns, David Njoku. If you were using the domination station optimizer, John, you couldn't get away from David Njoku. They were shoving him up your ass in every lineup. And he ends up coming through in a big way. Joe Flacco likes to throw to the tight end. Amari Cooper's healthy. This is an interesting game. How do you see it going down? 38.5 point total here.
Yeah. I mean, having Njoku shoved up your ass might be painful. That sounds, yeah.
Until he puts up 30, and then you're like, thank you for this, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
May I have another? Yes. But yeah, I did like Njoku myself last week. But to this game, as you know, I liked the Bears last week. I had them on the money line. Well, actually, no, I like Detroit on the show. So I apologize to everybody. I wound up taking, upon further looking over the weekend, I did wind up liking Chicago. So I apologize to everyone on the show. That's why you got to be in part of the Sharp app, because sometimes these change, as the week start looking at some of the line moves and where the sharps are. Something I don't even think you mentioned the Sharp report that we have over there. It's like crucial to all it's made my handicapping a ton better. But
just to explain what the Sharp report is, the Sharp report that Sharp app has access to is unlike anything that exists on any other site and anywhere. And effectively, we get information from a prominent sports book, not through data, but direct information about who their sharpest bettors are on. And this is a sports book that allows sharp bettors to bet. In other words, the traditional way of bookmaking was to allow some sharps on the book so that when they're taking shots, like a John, right? Why can John still place a bet? Because as soon as John starts hitting a bet, the book goes, oh, that's one of our sharp guys. That's an advantage better. And they move the lines based on those plays. So this book lets you know, hey, here our sharpest players are on this side of a bet. And it is just crucial that who the squares are on. They also know who the squares are. So they let us know, all right, our square bettors are on this side. And these little pieces of information, we've been tracking them for multiple years. They are plus EV to track, and you get it every day at the Sharp app as well. The Sharp report is awesome. So anyway, yes, John, continue.
It's one of the biggest misnomers. People who are familiar with sports betting, and they're like, well, all the money is being bet on this team, and they're like, that's why the line's moving. It's certain money move lines, not all money. So when they put a line on there and they're getting a ton of square money, a lot of times that line is not going to move until they start seeing the sharper money come on, because the sharp money is where they'll hit them for usually larger size bets, and two, that lets them know that maybe they're off on the line. They don't really care about Joe Average public and who they're betting. So just that should go into your handicapping as well. When you see, oh, the entire world's on this team and the line hasn't moved, there's a reason the line hasn't moved, because they don't really care about all those bets that came in. It wasn't the right bets to move that line. And as a matter of fact, you might even be getting money on the other side from sharp money that's offsetting it, which is why they haven't moved the line. So just a little tidbit there. But on this game, I'm actually going. I like Cleveland a little bit here on this game. I like what I'm seeing out of Flacco and this offense. I like how the offensive line is playing. This is just an example of, if you have a veteran quarterback who has some intelligence, he's got the ability. He doesn't need to have a ton of mobility, which Flacco does not have. But if you give him time, and he's got some decent weapons on that team with an offensive line, they're going to be fine. Like, he's probably the best option they've had. He's certainly better than the non-Watson options. And quite frankly, Watson wasn't looking all that great at times as well. So if you give this guy some time to throw, which the Jets couldn't do when he was in New York, this offense is more than competent and can handle it. And when you pair them up with the defense that Cleveland has, this is a team that could beat some people. So I like Cleveland in this game. I think they'll be able to handle the Chicago. I'm always hesitant going against Chicago, because I always feel like Fields can have a game that he just blows up and takes over by himself. But I think in this instance, I think the Cleveland defense is good enough. They're going to contain him. And I think they win this game. They cover this game. Not the type of game I want to put a pizza bet on. I don't think this is a blowout, but I do think they get the job done. I like Cleveland to cover the spread.
Yeah, I can see that. The Bears offense, they can dominate when they're up against a poor defense, but we haven't really seen them against a high level defense playing well. So I think there's a major test for Chicago and for Fields right now. And the Browns they're positioned for the playoff, not just a position. They're probably making the playoffs with this crew. It's crazy. Is Joe Flacco gonna, channel the Joe Flacco of old and go for a little playoff run? I don't know how deep they're going to get, but it's really interesting. It might still be Joe Flacco in the playoffs, just doing his thing.
What if he knocks out Baltimore?
Wouldn't blow my mind. No, would not blow my mind.
easily could have in the NFL this season. I mean, nothing's going to shock you, but
Yeah.
that would be amazing to watch that matchup in the postseason.
I think I'm trying to think which AFC team would blow my mind if they beat, right? I'm just trying to think through this.
no, there's no team that they couldn't beat.
I don't know they're beating the Chiefs or the Bills. Yeah, but maybe they could. I mean, when your defense is that good.
Yeah, if the Bills start getting on a run here, but yeah, I'm not going to be shocked in any situation. The Bills aren't. The Bills might play them in their building if they ever played the Bills. So it's interesting. Yeah, the AFC's. I think the NFC is a little bit more narrow, but the AFC is wide open.
Yeah, it's. I don't think the NFC is that wide open at all. I think it's two teams in the NFC. The AFC, yeah, and one other DFS note about this game before we move on is just the Browns have a lot of Q tags going on their running back crew. So let's monitor that is all I can say. They all have Q tags. If any one of them is out, but the other one is in, that is a smash situation. And if both of them are out, if Hunt and Ford are out, maybe Pierre Strong, a little flashback to the former Patriots. So we'll see. But that is a situation to monitor those running backs on the Browns. All right, next up, we got the Bucs at the Packers, with the Packers home 3.5-point favorites. John, this is an interesting one because Jordan Love kind of had a mediocre game last week, coming off a mediocre game. But this is the ultimate matchup, or this Buccaneers matchup has been gold for wide receivers, for QBs, everything. Like this has been a season-long trend. I want to look at does the power ranking sheet that you put out, does it indicate that the Bucs are this team that you should be targeting against? Like, it does show a little bit, but talk to me about the power rankings for this team and how this might give us an indication that we should be targeting offense. Like, what are the numbers here that tell us this?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, just look at what Tampa gives up. If you look at the rankings, they're over on the Sharp app. They're giving up 40 yards over what their opponent, 39 yards over what their opponent's average. So yeah, that's definitely, you want to bump up teams against Tampa, and typically the Tampa games can be good to target as far as game stacking goes, but the Green Bay defense is pretty good. Let me look at what their numbers are. Just Green Bay against the pass is not, they're a little stingy. Can't find them now.
15 yards below. I have it up on screen.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, 15. So they're pretty good against the pit. So it's Green Bay's a team that you typically don't game stack against, but Tampa is a team that you can. Basically, with all that said, you do want to look at Green Bay and their receivers, and even over the last few games, the last 5 games that I look at as well, that trend has actually increased. So Tampa's actually been worse in the last 5 games than they have been all season. So I would say it's a bump up. This is definitely a game you could look at in DFS for targeting. I don't love the game from a betting standpoint. Outside of maybe I'll take a piece of the over, but I don't really like this game on the side. I think the line is about right here, but small lean for me on the over. I don't mind that.
There it is. Yeah, I think I'd lean Bucs and taking the 3.5 in this one, just because of the half point. But from a DFS angle, the relevant players for me here on the Packers side, I'm not really sure, again, what they got going on at running back. So I think you could just avoid it and just look at Dobbs and especially Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed has been really good. Lots of targets last week. We loaded up on him. It worked out. And now Dontavian Wicks is out, so you can go right back to Reed and just assume that he's going to get those looks. I don't hate the tight end, Kraft, as well for the Packers. On the Bucs side, it's White and it's Evans, and that's it. Rashad White, sure. Actually, you can run on the Packers, so that's fine. And then Mike Evans, because Mike Evans every once in a while, especially during your fantasy playoffs, for some reason, Evans comes through with these 40-point games like right around now. He did a couple weeks ago. It could happen again. Muted out that sneeze for you guys.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought you might. All right. Next up, we got the Titans at home taking on the Texans. Titans are 3-point home favorite. John, I can't wait for your take on this one. Titans are 3-point home favorites, 38-point total. CJ Stroud not likely to play, but he's a Q tag right now. So let me ask you just a little behind the scenes thing. If that Q tag turns into we've declared him out, would that change this line? Texans are +3. I would imagine yes, because you would think a CJ Stroud-led Texans team would be favored against the Titans, but you tell me, is it already built in? This is Stroud not going to play.
It looks that way to me. I would think this line would be a little bit closer, if not flipped. And I kind of like it at Houston +3. So I like this game right now. I would take it right now. Now, potentially, if he doesn't play, maybe it moves a little bit. Maybe they're taking they're putting it on the 3 to kind of keep it right on that key number, and then they'll move it one way or the other when we get more information. But I like I'll take the shot here at Houston +3. I think potentially it moves a little bit with Stroud in there, but I do like the Houston play. Obviously, I want Stroud in the game. If we don't have him,
You're getting Davis Mills
it's not a good play for me. Yeah, I don't like it nearly as much, but I like the play here. I'll take a shot. I'm going to put this one in at the 3 and then hope for the best with the Houston side. Last week we mentioned it with the Jets, liked it. Believe I said the under on that one as well. That Jet defense really just stepped up huge. We haven't seen the Houston offense struggle like that. But look at even the Denver game that they beat Houston. That Denver defense, again, I talked about it previously. They've been improving. So the Houston offense has cooled down a bit. Banged up. You've got some wide receiver injuries here now with this team. So the under, we had sharp money coming on this game under 38.5, and that's moved this line down on the total. That 38 is kind of a key number there. So I don't love it if you're getting the 37.5 on the total, but I would lean towards the under as well. Tennessee's type of team. Now, Tennessee has been a team that's given up a lot of on the passing game, but we saw, hey, they pulled that game out Monday, unbelievable game on Monday night. And we just anticipated that was going to be a game where they had no shot in because of the fact that how proficient Miami is in the passing game, and Tennessee's just a team that you can pass on. But they were able to pull that game out on Monday. Certainly potential here. That under, it looks really low, but the sharps liked it at 38.5. So I would lean with the sharps on this one, but Houston's the side I like. I'm going to take it +3.
Yeah, I like the under as well here, John. Davis Mills not very good, and the Titans are not the style of team that are going to pile points on. If they can do this, if they can control this game defensively against Davis Mills, and not much of a running game from the Texans anyway, and Davis Mills, this is weakness on strength for the Titans, where the Titans have a really good run defense, but their pass defense is not that good. But when you put Davis Mills in there for the Texans, when you lose a bunch of their offensive weapons, I don't think it's that scary of a spot. I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to move the football. Davis Mills is not as bad as maybe, some backups that we've seen this year. He has started games in the NFL, so he's an acceptable backup quarterback, but I don't think either team is going to push the issue at all in this one. And this has all the makings of 14-7, 14-10, something really low scoring and gross. The only angle that I think is even exploitable here in DFS is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry typically plays well in games that are close. As long as his team is moving the football and has goal line opportunities, he is going to smash them home. I like Derrick Henry. I like Derrick Henry to score a touchdown. I like Derrick Henry to score 2 touchdowns in this one. So I think there's some alt bets on the player props here, but nothing else of interest for DFS for me. All right, John. Next, we've got the Jets on the road taking on the Dolphins. Jets are 8.5-point road underdogs, and this game is set at a low 37.5-point total. I believe we may, Tyreek Hill, he's a little gimpy out there right now. The knee is not 100%. We saw it last week. I think that's why the Titans won. And I think we also learned that Tyreek Hill is as much a part of Tua being awesome as Tua himself when he's good. Like, in other words, wherever Tyreek Hill is, the quarterback seems to do a lot better than where he isn't. Okay, he is John, it's funny, you talk about this a lot, about difference-making players and how mostly a wide receiver or a running back, they don't affect the line. Like, they're not difference-making players for the most part. Is Tyreek Hill that exception that's worth a couple points in your team's final score? Like, is this, can you make an exception for Tyreek?
Yeah, there are exceptions. There are going to be certain guys like that. And, that's part of handicapping, right? The market is, you have to understand what you're looking at with the market. Typically, position players are not going to move the line all that much. But I think there's a handful of guys who probably are undervalued in their importance to the team. I think Tyreek's one of them. I think Kelsey specifically on the roster that they have now is another one because they don't have anything else. Kelsey, when they had a little bit better wide receiving core,
didn't matter.
Not nearly as important. Yeah. I think he's really important there. I think even McCaffrey, as great as McCaffrey is, I don't know if he is as valuable to them on the point spread, right? So there's very few guys who can move the line more than a half a point who are not quarterbacks. And I think you're right. I think with Tyreek, so if he's only going to move the line a point, I think that might be undervalued. Maybe he's worth 1.5 to 2.5 points. So you have to factor that in. But yeah, I don't really love the side on this game. This is one of those that you probably want to tease down. I know this is one of those that you like. Like this is one of your they can't lose.
No, I would be much more on that if I knew Hill was fully healthy. I actually watch a Dolphins team that just doesn't look that good when Hill is hurt. So I'm not going to give this the seal of this game cannot be won by the Jets. Like, especially divisional, I will not put my stamp on that.
Well, we got to see. Let's see what the injury report is. But I think Miami bounces. That's a tough loss on that Monday night game. I think they bounce back. They'll win this game. So I don't mind teasing this one down.
The number is good in the sense of but we have the next game that is a can't lose spot.
Okay.
So we'll get to that. But from a DFS angle's perspective, the best thing about the Jets defense in terms of what you want to attack is the run defense. So both Mostert and Achane are going to be playable here. Both of them remain overpriced relative to their likely set of outcomes, especially in a game like this with a low total. But the Dolphins running backs are interesting. On the Jets, I go right back to Breece Hall in this one. That worked out last week. And of course, Garrett Wilson. Now, Dolphins have good cornerbacks, but I don't care. Doesn't matter. Wilson's getting targeted 14, 16 times a game. They don't really throw to anybody else. It's crazy how the Jets offense works, and they just only target Garrett Wilson for the most part. So you can just rely on volume from him. He doesn't even have to have a smash game. If he ever does anything with that volume, it would be amazing. But even last week, just on volume alone, he really absolutely crushed it. 16 targets. Like, hey, you give 16 targets to Brandon Ayuk in the San Francisco offense, he scores like 400 points. But on the Jets, that leads to 25s, and that's fine too. So I like a couple of pieces from the Jets here: Breece Hall and Wilson, maybe even Zach. On a week without many quarterback options, maybe silly for the millie. Dolphins side, I'm not touching almost anything here. Jets are a good defense, and the Dolphins players are priced in a way that they have to absolutely smash in order to be worth rostering, and I don't see that in a 38-point total game. So let's move on here. Chiefs at the Patriots. Now, you want to talk about a game where the team can't lose. I don't really see the Chiefs losing this game. It is on the road. It is at the Patriots. The Patriots are now rumors swirling. Belichick in his swan song. They're going to fire him. How do you fire? I think Belichick, before we get to that, I think Belichick has earned a stay here as long as you want card. Unless there's some personal animosity. But are you hearing these rumors that it's a foregone conclusion that the Patriots and Belichick will part ways at the end of this year?
I've been hearing that as well. Yeah, I mean, you kind of think a guy like that should really be able to go out on his own terms. But listen, you own a franchise. The guy's not getting the job done. I get it. Like, hey, what's he ever done without Brady? That's what I want to know.
I'm pretty sure he won a Super Bowl with Matt Castle, or at least made it to it.
Well, no, they
Had a
didn't make
pretty
the,
good
they didn't make the
season.
playoffs that year. They had a great season though. They had a
Yeah,
really,
they
really good year.
definitely
They had
made the
like
playoffs.
11 wins and missed the playoffs, I think.
Oh, is that what happened? All right.
Yeah.
Well, they won a lot of games with Matt Castle.
Yeah, they
anyway.
did.
Yeah, not a Super Bowl, but they won a bunch of games with
Pretty
Castle.
good.
But
Yeah, pretty good team, obviously. But Brady hasn't played on many bad teams either.
Yeah.
Pretty good defenses that they've had a lot of those years. Anyway,
I think the fatal flaw of Bill Belichick is he's not the greatest GM ever, and he never should have been the GM of the team.
This happens with a lot of these guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's got to be. I mean, there's enough work on your plate to be the head coach. This is why I don't like hiring. I mentioned this on this show before. I don't like hiring. I would never hire a coordinator to be my head coach. I'll just pay. If you want to say Mike McDaniel's great play caller, and he is, I'd rather him just be I'll pay you head coaching money, and you be my offensive coordinator. I don't need there's no way you can possibly be managing the entire team and game when you are focused solely on the offense. He has to have no clue of what's going on defensively. You have to have no idea what's going on as far as managing the game. When am I going to call timeout? When you're focused on that's a very difficult job to have. And I want a guy who's sitting up in the booth, looking at replays, looking at the monitor. When my defense is on the field or vice versa, whatever coordinator I am, I want to be able to look and see what the other team is doing and then figure out what I need to do when my unit gets back on the field. So that's why I love a guy like Tomlin. You don't see Tomlin's got the headset on. He ain't calling plays. Tomlin's running that team. Those guys will run through a wall for him. Give me that guy who knows how to manage the entire operation. That's what I want. So, and then to that point, the last thing I want to do is now give this guy the keys to the entire operation and say, hey, you can just what did Parcells say? Like, I want to be able to buy the groceries.
Yeah, I want to buy the groceries of cook the cake.
Yeah, well, Parcells couldn't do that either. So
nope.
He wasn't very good at it. I can't think of any of these coaches who've been all highly successful at doing both. I can't think of one. I don't, obviously you're going to have a lot of input. I'm trying to think of who's done, like Holmgren went to Seattle. I guess they went to the Super Bowl, so you got to give them a little credit for that. But it's tough. It's tough to have both of those things.
I'm thinking I'm trying to think about other guys who have taken on this role, and for the most part, the not that good at picking players part has been consistent. Like, I don't know.
You're getting a job. You're getting a job based okay, you're a great coach, which is very difficult, by the way, to ever figure out if a guy's a great coach anyway, because they give all these coordinators get jobs based on how well their team does on the field, and how many times are they giving a coordinator's job to the guy who has the best quarterback in the league? Like every New England guy, all these Aaron Rodgers coordinators are getting jobs. No shit.
The worst ones were the Peyton Manning jobs, like
the Peyton Manning ones. Who the guy ran? I remember hearing Aikman go do one of his games, and when they primarily Fox would do NFC games, and he hadn't done a Manning game yet, and he said he had never in all his years in football seen a quarterback basically control the entire practice. He said not even just the offensive practice. He said he controlled the entire practice. He was the head coach, and like everyone else was just along for the ride. So yeah, to be the offensive coordinator for Peyton Manning, I don't know how much you were really doing. I'm pretty sure he was calling the plays as on the field, and it was what he wanted. Same thing with Brady. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers, which is why Hackett's with the Jets. He wanted a guy that he made sure he could control.
Whoops, right? Jets.
Yeah, but now look at what you got.
The Jets also once hired as a head coach one of the Peyton Manning offensive coordinators. I can't even remember his name. I've wiped his name from my memory. Adam something or another, and that was a disaster too. Like, I was like, what the hell were they thinking? Like, oh, you're the offensive coordinator for a guy who didn't need one. Good job. How about get me the offensive coordinator from a team that stinks, that still wins games with a shitty quarterback?
Well, that's why you get a guy like. That's why you have a guy like Shanahan. I know he's got great pieces. You got McCaffrey, but he was running the great offense without McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you could watch, I could see that guy can take, just give me a good quarterback, average quarterback, and he's going to be able to call the play. I think McDaniels is in a similar type of guy. Yeah. But yeah, even Andy Reid, Andy Reid's been successful when even Alex Smith was pretty successful under Andy Reid. So you give Andy Reid as a play caller a lot of credit. But yeah, you see my favorite, I bring him up all the time. I know we don't get too deep, but it was Minnesota. What's his name? With Billick, who wound up going to Baltimore. He was the greatest offensive mind in the history of football because they were scoring 50 points a game with Randy Moss. And, and these guys they were just throwing the ball bombs away. And then he goes to Baltimore. He's got an offense that can't score, but he had the greatest defense in the history of the NFL, and they won a Super Bowl. So he wins a Super Bowl with, arguably the best defense ever, and he couldn't figure out a way to score any points. So how much of an offensive guru was he when he had Dilfer as his quarterback? Not much of one.
If you ever watch Hard Knocks, you see a lot of these guys are frauds. A lot of the coaches,
of course,
they're complete frauds, and they're just yelling.
If you've ever worked in corporate America, most of your bosses are frauds.
It's so obvious too. I don't know how. Oh, anyway, we're getting way far away from this game. Let's get back. Let's pull it back. Let's pull it back in. Chiefs, Patriots. Chiefs are 7.5-point road favorites here. Okay, and this game really has no interest at all from a DFS angles perspective. I'm not interested in anything from it, but I think this is that game that you pretty much lock in a Chiefs win here. And you might want to just push the number maybe down to -3. I don't even think you need to move it. I would just probably move it to 6.5.
I don't love the game. I don't like any side of this game. I'm okay with you moving the game. I'll take. I'm fine with that. I mean, I do think the Chiefs win, but I'm not shocked here if the Chiefs lose this game because they're so one-dimensional, and that if you could just focus on Kelsey, and that's what teams are doing. It's like they're taking Kelsey out, trying to take Kelsey out of the games, and that's where he wants to go with the ball, and they just don't have confidence like in these other receivers, and nor should you. And I think there's the potential for them. They could lose to any one of these teams, and a team that obviously, we just talked about coaching. I mean, Belichick does know how to coach defenses. That I know. They're going to focus heavy on Kelsey and see if they can make the rest of this team beat them. So I'm not going to be surprised if they pull off an upset. But I'm fine taking this tease down and basically putting it in a situation where Kansas City has to win. But it's just not a play that I'm going to be making. I don't like the total on this game either. That's the thing. I mentioned it last week. You were talking about, that was your boner alert game. And I'm like, why? Kansas City's defense has been dominant all season long. You owe me on both of those Josh Allens.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Was that the bet? So what was the bet? Remind me. I thought it was Bobby. Wow. I was asking somebody. I was like, what did I bet?
I said Lamar was going to be the best quarterback of the high stake. And so that was like even money.
No, but the bet was not.
And Brock Purdy was the big one. Yeah, Brock Purdy.
It was Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Brock Purdy, and
he beat that bet.
Yeah, and he beat Allen. I'm like, I'm not betting against this Chiefs defense. You're like, I'm not taking anyone against this Chiefs defense has been phenomenal. Think about where they are with an average defense this year. Like they're missing the playoffs. Like with an average defense, their offense has been atrocious.
No, they've been really good. I will say with the Chiefs though, Rashee Rice has come on a little bit lately. And
he's played well. They've got to use what? Answer me this, right? You know about the player, the individual. Why is Richie James not getting some looks? Like at least I know he could catch the ball with the Giants. He caught the ball. Like why isn't he getting more? Like Tony. I mean, at this point, you got to just never play Tony again.
I have no idea. I mean, one of the things that goes on with these Chiefs wide receivers, and it's shocking, is how amazingly bad some of them actually are. They're in the National Football League, right? Martez Valdez-Scantling is a pass dropper going back 5 years. Like at some point, just being a fast runner, I don't know how you're still in the National Football League. Justin Watson, a few weeks ago, they finally were like, let's feature Justin Watson. He's been here a while. Let's throw to him. What does he do? He drops 3 passes in the same game. And you're like, how is this an NFL player? How would you do that? Like you made it through so many levels of football to get to the NFL just to not be able to catch a pass. And it sounds so stupid because you're like, it can't be. It's just weird variance and noise, but it keeps happening with these guys.
Right.
And Kadarius Toney doesn't know where to line up on the field, drops passes like a lunatic. Like this guy should not be in the National Football League. He's got speed. I get it. But at some point you're making things worse. So yeah, I don't know. I think Rashee Rice is the only one that showed any level of competence. And you're right. Rick James has been a competent player in the past. He's been hurt most of the year, though, in fairness. So he's just now gotten healthy. He was on IR for or some injury list for a good part of the season. And I think that just kind of didn't give him a chance to get a shot at being part of this group. So yeah, maybe this is that week where, John DFS play special of the week, Rick James comes out of nowhere to to have a good game. Richie James won Bobby Wow $1 million a couple years ago.
Could happen
on a
again.
showdown Millie. So maybe it can happen again here. But yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on there. And again, Patriots, Bailey Zapp, it's gross over there. It's just gross. It looks like maybe Zeke Elliott, the running back, not good. So the whole scene with the Patriots is a disaster. All right, let's move on. We spent a lot of time on that game. Let's move on. This is a fun one. The Giants on the road at the Saints. 6-point road underdog Giants, 39-point total. Tommy D leaving the sanctuary of New Jersey. Before the game in his press conference, he had said that he had only been outside of the state a couple times in his career, just for road games from the college road games. Not a big traveler, Tommy DeVito. Likes to stay close to home. He likes his mom's Sunday gravy. Doesn't like to miss out on it.
Can't blame him.
You want me to go more? You want more? I got more Tommy D material.
I saw some good stuff today. I'll have to send it to you. Guy did a whole, the narration, the beginning of Goodfellas, the whole narrative, the Henry Hill narration. The guy did it. The guy did it for Tommy. It was actually pretty good in a Ray Liotta voice.
I don't think he looks like Ray Liotta. I think he looks like the kid from A Bronx Tale.
Colosimo.
Yeah, Colosimo. He looks exactly like Colosimo.
Colosimo was they called him C. Colosimo was his full name.
I thought it was a Colosimo, but okay, Colosimo.
Yeah, I don't know. And then hopefully he doesn't have the same. That kid ran into a lot of problems in real life, but
he ran into some trouble on a couple episodes of Sopranos too, if you remember. He did
some jail time.
The all-time dumbest fuck. What he did jail time? The actor.
In real life. Oh yeah.
I do remember. Maybe I heard something. What, he tried to become an actual mobster?
I don't remember what his issues were, but he had some. Hopefully, he's cleaned it up. But it was drug issues and whatnot. Tommy
D down in New Orleans. I'm saying on the other shows, the cooking's just not what he's used to. I was down in the South. Okay, I was down in the South for the FanDuel DraftKings MMA Championship. I had to go to Jacksonville. And I went to one of the restaurants locally over there, actually in Savannah, Georgia. Famous big-time restaurant. Ordered the chicken parm, John.
Oh, what are you doing?
It was because my kid was with me. She's like, I don't want to eat a full meal. I only want a half. Let me get the chicken parm. I'm like, I don't want the chicken parm. She's like, no, I only want that. It's fine. So I ordered it for my daughter. In fairness, she wasn't that hungry. She wanted to split. I was like, I'm always the one who splits the food. Wife's like, no, fuck you. I'm getting what I want. So it was terrible.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was terrible.
It's like when you go to the diner and you go to diners in Brooklyn. I'm sure when you grew up, you go to the diner, the Floridian was right by you.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The Plaza Diner and all that. And there'd be one guy order like a chicken parm or like a pasta dish. There's 4,000 things on the menu. The last thing you do is go to the Italian section on the
never.
You get a burger, you get fries with cheese and maybe some brown gravy. Like, there's like a grilled cheese sandwich. There's like a limited thing you get at the diner.
Wait, you know what my dad's, and my dad's from the generation of obviously before us. You know what his favorite thing at the Kings Plaza Diner / Floridian was? He still loves it. In the dinner section, the Romanian steak. Okay, I don't know if
I've never had that.
It's a skinny steak with onions.
Yeah,
and what he loves about it is, for the $21. You got this, and now it's probably like $35, but I remember back in the day, it'd be like $18, $19. And you get it wasn't just the steak, it was the side salad, the soup, the pickles.
You get mashed potatoes,
the coleslaw, the potatoes, the sides, the whole thing. He's like, he'd get so excited. And I'm like, Dad, this steak was frozen like 5 minutes ago. This is not where you want to order a steak. It's just like frozen shit. They're cooking it. It's like, no, look at all the stuff it comes with. Gets so excited. Like when you're in your late 70s. Especially, but even back in the day, I guess that's really exciting. But yeah, Tommy D. Anyway, the pride of New Jersey heads down to New Orleans, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of this game. I'm not a big Saints guy. The Giants probably better at home than on the road. 7 points, 6 points. What do you say here, John?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say on it either. I can't. I do like the over, but as far as the side goes, I can't touch it. But this over looks a little bit too low for me. So I would play this one over the 39.5 where it's at now. I think you might be able to get 39 in some spots. And so I'll take that to the over. I think there's going to be points in it. I know the New Orleans defense is pretty good. But look, I mean, he crushed me. Tommy D crushed me. I got knocked out of a massive survivor pool with that one. It's double picks. I had the Saints and I needed Green Bay to advance, and we would have been in the top 10, which was a payout, 8,000 entries in there.
Damn.
So that was brutal. That was a tough loss, but the kid played well. The getting the NFC Player of the Week was a little bit of a stretch, but Offensive Player of the Week, considering how good a game Purdy had. But
I want to mention a couple things that he did in that game, just because you might not have noticed. Like a lot of people, he didn't throw for a lot of yards,
No,
John.
he ran well.
He was definitely scrambling a lot, but more importantly, he completed 17 out of 21 passes in that game. They're hitting high percentage plays. Now, they didn't throw it a lot of times, obviously, and he only threw for 158 yards, but 81% completion ratio is pretty good. The other thing was, as you said, he's running a lot, 71 rushing yards. And if you watch the game, you saw first read, run it. It seemed like maybe they're coaching that in. I'm not sure. Maybe he was just kind of doing his thing. Maybe his mama told him, got to run with the football. No.
Yeah, that's more Russian, or that was more like Israeli. I think you're using.
I don't know where I went with that. I
definitely wasn't Italian.
No,
but
I didn't. You could do the Italian grandma accent.
The New Orleans defense is very similar to Green Bay's defense in their strength. So I think he's going to have some success in this game. That's why I kind of like this game to go over. And I don't have a ton of confidence in the Giant defense, so I think this game goes all right. I think they'll get this game up into the 40s.
You playing Derek Carr in DFS this week?
I think he can. Yeah, for sure.
Man, he stinks. You can never play Derek Carr, John. That was a trick question.
That was a trick question.
Yeah.
As I said, let me look at
can never.
Oh, no. I'm just looking at the numbers now. And you know what? This is just bad across the board. So you kind of want to just stay away from this game.
You can never play Derek Carr.
No, you can't. Winston would be nice, but
Winston you could play. You can never
can't play Carr.
Ever play Derek Carr in DFS.
Yeah, strike that from the record.
Yeah.
I'm off of that.
Let's get that out of there. I don't really like any pieces on the Saints here either. Kamara's fine. Whatever. He's fine. Olave's fine, whatever. I think Olave has literally never made value against the 7K price point in his entire career. I don't know that this is that week that'll have. It could be. Giants are that defense that you can break a record against, but that's what it would take for him to have been worth using in this game. And on the Giants side, I do think that Saquon Barkley is once again certainly a valid play. And those wide receivers, you might get some goodness out of those cheap wide receivers. There's not a lot of value on the week. I know you probably haven't dived in heavy on Sunday. There's so much DFS happening right now, Saturday, Thursday, and everything. But there's no value available for Sunday. So you're going to have to venture into the Wan'Dale Robinson zone. And I think he's a perfectly acceptable. I still think Wan'Dale, 7 targets last week, is that guy. That's probably the best of the Giants guys and probably one of the better pay down options on the slate. As crazy as that sounds. If you match that up with the fact that the Giants are just kind of giving Tommy D these short throws, high percentage passes, that's what Wan'Dale does. So I think that is really an interesting spot in this one as well. +6. I think the side here is the Giants side, John. I think you got to take the points. And if you tease it, you tease the Giants up.
I tell you, what you worry about is that Monday night game is what I didn't want to, I had no choice.
The thoughts, really. Right? Because of the win.
Yeah. And it's like there was so much at home Monday night, this whole Tommy D, Tommy Cutlet sensation thing. You could totally see a letdown here going down to New Orleans, the letdown after that huge Monday night game, all the hype, all the hoopla. We're hearing about it all week. So I worry about that in this game.
That's fair. All right. Next up, we've got the Falcons heading out to take on the Panthers. The Panthers are 3-point home favorites. This is the worst total. I mean, some of these totals are crazy. This one is a 34-point total on this game. Some thoughts on on just DFS. The Panthers are absolutely terrible. Last week we played. There's two pieces of like fantasy interest here. Number one, Chuba Hubbard continues to just get tons of volume for some reason. So they've gone full in on Chuba Hubbard. They have discovered that what the Eagles have known for a few years, that Miles Sanders, hashtag not good. And then on the Falcons side, Des Ridder was the nuts QB last week. Not a lot of people realized it. That was the guy last week that had the best. We loved Drake London last week and all of that, but Des does that while also simultaneously not being good. He stinks, right? So I don't know how the hell he actually pulled it off. There's interceptions, there's fumbles along the way, but he got it done. Drake London, smash game last week as well. But this game sets up more as a running game for the Falcons. Bijan Robinson certainly has a good outlook against the Panthers defense that allows tons of yards. Looking at your power ranking sheet for this game, Atlanta is projected for 143 rushing yards, and neither team over 151 passing yards. John, that is one of the lower numbers that you're going to see for a game in terms of passing yards. Neither team over 150. What a shit show.
Carolina's defense has been really good against the pass. So that's part of it. You'll be surprised with this game. I really like Carolina in this game. I like Carolina to win this game. So I would take this one. I think this is one of the pizza bets you can make.
There it is.
Some points. You can lay some points here with Carolina, lay 3, flip it the other way.
Whoa.
I like Carolina. Yeah, this is one of my favorite plays. So yeah, I think Carolina's the play. I think Carolina's slightly better than they're not the worst team in the league despite the record. And Atlanta is way worse than this record will indicate. I think you're getting a lot of value. I think this line should be closer to a pick 'em. So I think you could easily move it down to a pick 'em and take the money line, or even lay some points with Carolina. But I do think Carolina wins this game. I think the defense steps up here. Atlanta's going to have a hard time scoring. So tight, nip and tuck. Give me Carolina win this game by at least a field goal.
I love the call. Now, if I extrapolate again, Carolina winning, what else is happening here? For DFS angles, the first thing is Carolina defense, as you said, is playing really well. Carolina defense is one of the cheapest defenses on this slate. They are the cheapest viable defense on DraftKings this week. So good call there. The other thing that I think is happening is if Carolina's winning, they're running for touchdowns, which again, elevate Chuba Hubbard. And the final thing is last week, Mingo, now he was my sort of punt of the week, so to speak. He was that one cheap guy that really stood out. One of actually a few that stood out, but Mingo was the biggest one last week that stood out. And everybody at the end of the week said, oh, what a shitty pick. That didn't work out, right? So then if you go back and look at what actually happened in the game, why did we like Mingo? Because he had been seeing elevated targets, 6, 7, 7, 6, and then 10 the week before. So we're like, all right, I like the volume for this kid at 3,300. That's a good price for that amount, or 3,500 for that amount of value. Well, he proceeded to get 9 more targets last week. It's not like, if you can get a $3,500 guy that gets 9 targets in a game, you've already won. You beat the closing line. That he only caught 2 of them is irrelevant to the fact that the volume was there. I don't know how to predict when, how bad an NFL quarterback's going to be that they can't complete a pass.
Can I throw this in there to kind of piggyback off of that with sports? The bets I make for props, when you talk about the Sharp app and the prop, I stick to NFL. I stick to reception props because I think they're those are the most predictable, most easily projectable. Like yardage props get really tricky because how do I know if a guy catches 4 for 40 or 4 for 110? Like it's hard to project that out, but you're trying to project out targets. So like you said, we were like, listen, he's going to get targets. I loved him too last week. He's going to get the targets. He's going to get the looks. I think that's easier to project than just how many yards. Like you kind of get lucky with the yards sometimes. So just to kind of piggyback off there, you got to be smart with your prop bets as well.
Yeah, you could only predict so many things. So I'm going right back to Mingo. 9 targets last week, 10 targets the week before, 7, 6, 6, 7. those are good numbers. Those are good target numbers for a sub 4K guy, especially on a slate that don't have a lot of them. So like Mingo and Wandale are so far two of my favorite under 4K plays on the slate. We'll see. Hopefully more will pop up, but those two really stood out. All right, on to the afternoon games. And first up, we've got the Commanders, and this is a boner alert game. So I'm gonna give it to this one. Now there are two games that have the possibility, but Rihanna likes this one.
Boner alert.
Yep, Rihanna likes it. That means I like it. The Commanders at the Rams, 50.5 point total. The Rams are 6.5 point home favorites. That is not that big of a favorite, John. That's a closer game than I was expecting to see, to be honest. I thought they might be more than 7-point favorites. As far as some of the angles on this one, oh, yeah. Give me Cooper Kupp. First of all, let's just take a look at the, I actually want to show the power rankings for this one as well, because you're going to see the best number of the week in terms of passing yards. The Rams set for 288 passing yards. John, I believe, and it is, I don't even know if we have ownerships out yet. I believe that this game, that Matthew Stafford is going to be one of the chalkiest QBs on the slate. I know it's crazy, but 288 passing yards on the docket for the Rams. The Rams, 109 rushing yard expectation. Most of that number was established before Kyren Williams came back. I think I would up the expectations for rushing yards in this one as well for the Rams. And the real question for me is if the Commanders can keep up at all. I don't know how they do it. But and they've been doing it with smoke and mirrors all year, so I have no idea how they do it. But I do like, I'm crazy as this sounds, I like Stafford a little bit here. Cooper Kupp for sure. I think Puka Nacua is an interesting pivot off of Cooper Kupp in your Stafford stacks. And then, of course, Kyren Williams. The Stafford's weirdly been better with Kyren Williams in the game than without. So I like everything to do with the Rams offense here. As far as the Washington side goes, I don't have much. What do you think, John?
I agree with you on just about everything you said here. I am a little surprised at where the line is at 6.5. Thought maybe we get to the touchdown. So they're kind of keeping it below that touchdown number, which is interesting to me. My lean would be on the Rams. Don't love the game. However, don't really love the total. 50 is a big total. I agree on this slate. This is probably the best game. I do like Stafford. I haven't projected as the best quarterback this week. So I do like Stafford as well. But
is Stafford chalk bad chalk?
Yeah, it very well could be. I mean, I've got him projected for the most, not by a lot.
Yeah.
Barely, I've just got him as my highest projected guy this week. So obviously he's going to be a play. And, both of these defenses have actually, when I look at the numbers and I look at from the last 5 games, the game actually becomes even more attractive, at least from the Rams side. It's actually a little less attractive to me on the Washington side, looking at how their offense has performed in recent games and the Ram defense. So that's the one thing that's making me a little bit nervous about a full-on game stack. But I think it is the best overall game stack. It's just not one that I have a ton of confidence in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad games this week, so that's what makes this game look just more attractive. But not going to be shocked if this game just is a dud. But I agree with you. It's always tough, though. When you're looking at the Rams, it's just tough when you have Puka and Kupp out there eating up the targets.
Yeah,
and
I think
sharing them.
I think I'm just like, I'm going to comfortably say Kupp is the better play, and Puka is more of a contrarian pivot, more than like somebody you'd primarily want to build around. I love Puka, but Kupp plays the role that does the best on the Rams. Like, he's in that slot that just does the best. You plug Puka in that spot, he's going to be just as good. I don't think it's a talent thing. I just think it's where they're putting you on the field, and what's important. My problem is, do you agree? Like, the Commanders are a difficult team for me to figure out. Like, Terry McLaurin's bad every week. Jahan Dotson's bad every week. Curtis Samuel's sort of not that good either. And yet somehow the quarterback gets there, but it's, I don't really, he'll like kind of get there, but he does it with like a lot of smoke and mirrors. I don't know how he's even getting there, but for the most part, none of the offensive pieces on the Commanders stand out to me. Like, there's not one piece on that team that I'm like, I can't wait to play this guy this week at all. I would play none of them in a bottle. You would think it should be Terry McLaurin, but he just hasn't gotten it done.
I've never been a McLaurin fan. In fact, it's like, yeah, I don't know if it's just sometimes you just have that view of one player, whatever it is. Like, he's always the guy. I'm like, he just
why you hate him?
To do it for me.
I know why you don't like him. And I'm going to tell you, I know why, because I've experienced this too, but I've actually figured out what it is. Terry McLaurin has been perennially overpriced on DraftKings to the point where it makes you dislike the player. But it's not his fault that DraftKings has done that. He's one of like 3 or 4 players that for multiple seasons have been mispriced. I mean, DK Metcalf is on that list for me as well. He had a big game the other day, but like beyond that, he's always disappointing. Terry McLaurin was that. He's one of these guys, like even this year, I'll tell you right now, they dropped his price point finally, but he's doing the same thing he's done every year, which if you take a look, so his average fantasy points per game this year, guess what it is without looking?
His average this year?
Yeah. What's his fantasy points per game if you take his average for the whole year?
12.
Yeah, it's right there. It's 11.3, right? And the reason I mention it is because a player should generally be priced at 2.5x salary. That's normally what you see. So if he's averaging 12 points, his salary should be something in the 5K range. He's been doing this for years, but he's been up in the mid 6s for multiple seasons. They finally brought him down this year, and now he's 5,600, but that's still a little above where he should be. He's still now currently at 2x. He should really be at like 4,900. So he's just been perennially overpriced for multiple. Gabriel Davis is like that too. Just an absurd price point for a guy like that. Really low. Yeah, he's got an even lower average score on the season. So I know it seems stupid, but you actually should be looking at when we're in week 15, you could look at the fantasy points per game and at least get some idea of where the player should be priced relative to that average. And Terry McLaurin just doesn't get it done. So yeah, I always have a hard time with trying to figure out. I like Howell, but who to stack him with? It's not an easy.
It's always a problem. Yeah, when I look at even in their most recent games, when I look at the last 5, they've been doing really well from a quarterback standpoint and from a running back standpoint, and they're one of the worst teams from fantasy point at the wide receiver, which is crazy that your quarterback would do that well. And he's not typically a running quarterback. I mean, he does run. You'll see that with a rush. You'll see that with like a Fields where the wide receivers are shit and the quarterback's doing well. So it's just weird when I look at the numbers that they've done so well at the running back in the last 5 games and at the quarterback, and one of the worst at wide receivers. So it's very.
This is what I'm saying. That's why I was saying he gets it done with smoke and mirrors. Like I can't even quite figure out what this guy is doing to get it done. But a lot of it has been actually passes to the running backs.
I was going to say they're throwing a lot to the running backs. So that's where the running back's getting points.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on. 49ers at the Cardinals. Smash situation in terms of the 49ers offense, and Cardinals are going to get smashed in this one. You want to talk about a game that a team is locked in for a win. This is probably that. 49ers money line minus 900. The total here is 48. DFS angles here, you want to just avoid the Cardinals like just in full. And on the 49er side, I will tell you right now, John, a few people are putting up big numbers in this game. Who those people are?
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you. Could be McCaffrey. Could be Samuel's done it the last couple of weeks. Debo, that's my back punk. Could be him. Could be Brandon Ayuk. Could be George Kittle out of nowhere. Don't know. Have no idea. But I would guess 1 or 2 of those guys will have a big game. If you're playing Brock Purdy, who's been the QB of the year so far, John wins a bet against me last week. Got to PayPal those funds on Brock Purdy. But could be Brock Purdy again. Or they could just lean heavy on the run and Christian McCaffrey gets 2 or 3 touchdowns. A lot of ways this game could go, but I would say it's virtually locked in that players on the 49ers are going to be putting up numbers. Just got to guess right.
Yeah, San Francisco won't lose the game. I just think the total's just or that spread's just a little bit too high for me. So either you like Arizona here, or I think you pass on the game. I can't bet this one on the spread, and that total's right about in the right ballpark there too. So I don't really love the game from a betting standpoint. I think if you want to pick the player, it's going to be McCaffrey. Like McCaffrey will have a monster monster game here. They'll rely heavily on him. You can run on Arizona. Don't think it's a problem. So I would expect the guy who's their the leading scorer from a DFS standpoint is going to be it's going to be McCaffrey in this game.
Yeah, it should be. And you go right back to McCaffrey. He disappointed a little bit last week. Didn't get the touchdown. Had a lot of chances. Got a touchdown. Got one called back.
Got the 70-yard run down to like the 1.
Yes. So, weird shit happens. And that's how, just a reminder of like the variance of DFS also, like a tackle at the 1 versus getting in the end zone. And, that's such a huge swing in how many points a player scores in a particular game. A couple of those happen in a game, one called back, for a holding call. Those kind of things happen, and it just changes the full outcome of a game. Unpredictable, unknowable. But I think you go right back to McCaffrey is the best play on the slate. Very expensive, not going to be very doable unless more value. I have not figured out a way to make McCaffrey lineups as of yet. But you never know. You never know if we find some value. But that's about it for that game. I do think you can tease this one down, and if you get it sub 7 points, I'd be looking the easiest teaser right off the bat that's popping for me. Would be, the 49ers with the Chiefs, especially if you listen, there's the monster teaser. I don't really like to do that one. It's still minus 140. Got a lot of legs. You got to hit, but on the 6.5 pointer, you can get the Chiefs down to, we need to win. You get the 49ers down to, we just need to cover 7. I kind of like that as a starting approach without overly thinking some of these other spots. Maybe the Rams, but maybe the Rams as well belong in there, but maybe not. I need to think about that one.
Yeah. That's a tricky one. I don't know. I wouldn't touch that one.
Yeah, I need to think about that one. Last game on the afternoon slate, and this was almost the Rihanna special. And I think this should be, in a sense, the negative is just some of the player pricing that makes it difficult to load up on the game. But the Cowboys at the Bills in the game of the weekend, this is the game that everybody wants to watch, right? Again, 2 playoff level teams, Cowboys, legit discussion. Both of these are Super Bowl contenders, strong Super Bowl contenders. The Bills need the win, John. They're at home and they need to win the game. You know who doesn't need to win the game as bad? The Cowboys. So just from who needs this more at home, the Bills are -2 at home, John. Is this the time when you take them as a favorite? Let's go.
Yeah, I think I like the Bills here. You got 2 teams coming off of huge monster wins. Dallas needs this game as well, though. I mean, Dallas is trying to play for that 1 seed. Winning the division at a minimum is going to be a lot better than being the wild card team. They're going to have a tough time, though, just to win the division, just with the Philly schedule now gets pretty weak from here on out. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult. So Philly gets a break here in their schedule. They've get what Dallas has basically been on that weak schedule and just crush teams coming through. Now, Dallas wins this game. I would not be shocked if the Eagles lose to one of these bad teams coming up. Because the Eagles have been teetering on this. This is what I said last week when I said, I said a couple of weeks ago when I loved San Francisco. I said that was one of my pizza bets. I'm like, you could take San Francisco all the way up to 20 points on the pizza bets. Like that was a game I had a lot of confidence in. Didn't last week. I liked Philly last week only because my mind liked Dallas, but I liked Philly as far as a play just because my model had it as a play. This week, my brain is telling me Buffalo wins this game. It's 2 teams moving in the right direction. And again, you usually like to fade that team coming off a great win, but both are coming off a great win. The 15.5 points, I think, is right about where actually I think this game goes over. So I would I was talking about the Washington Rams game. This is probably going to be the best of the DFS games. I have this game rated slightly higher. I do think this is a better DFS game. Dak is just on fire, and this offense is really clicking. So if you look at them from a season-long standpoint, the numbers say this is a good game. If you look at the last 5, it's even better. So both quarterbacks are projecting higher if you just base it off the last 5 statistics. If you base it last 5 weeks stats, the wide receivers on both teams are projected to be better just based on the last 5 weeks. So everything is trending in the direction of points in this game. So I like this game over. I think Buffalo wins the game, and there's a lot of DFS goodness in it. Yeah,
a lot of goodness to be had here. I think the top play across both teams is going to be CeeDee Lamb. Just got to be on CeeDee Lamb in this one. The way that they're targeting him, I like Ferguson. The Bills pieces are a little bit more difficult for me to get to. They've just been so disappointing. They're also priced incorrectly. So it's the kind of game where I'm not touching any Bills pieces outside of stacking with Allen. So, Gabriel Davis, it's only somebody that I would use in an Allen stack. Same thing with Diggs. I'm not playing him outside of Josh Allen at the helm. Same thing with the tight end, Dalton Kincaid. I'm not playing him outside, but you could play these guys with Josh Allen. The flip side on the Cowboys team, the sneaky player that I don't think a lot of people are going to be on. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think even Tony Pollard is once again, you go right back to that. Go right back to Tony. I know he's been pretty disappointing all year long, but they're starting to throw to him a little bit more. And I think that Tony Pollard will see elevated receptions in a game like this against a Bills defense that kind of can stuff the run a little bit. So I like that side of it. Love CeeDee Lamb. Love Dak. Love everything about it from that point of view from an offense, except for how expensive all of the pieces are. So in order to build around this game, you are the negative. The only negative to this game that I found is just everybody's priced up based on, Dallas been crushing it for weeks in a row. And so now you've got 9K CeeDee Lamb. It's not that easy to use him. You've got 8K Dak, which is way over anywhere he's ever been priced in recent memory. So it's just difficult to afford the stack on a week where value is at a premium and there's not much of it. Usually late in the season, John, we get injuries that open up a lot of value spots. The only injuries we're getting are the quarterbacks, and those value spots suck. So we're not getting the backup running back for 3 or 4K that we used to get, or the wide receiver. We're just not seeing. I don't want to root for injuries, but when it's this late in the season, outside of injuries, there's no value to be had because the players have established their sort of expectations somewhat. So you're kind of pricing players correctly. Like we named a couple that I think are cute plays, but Mingo and Wandale, but there aren't anything that great down there. So I think it's going to be challenging to stack this game up, John. Did you pick a side here?
Yeah, I like the Buffalo side on the game. Yeah,
I like agree.
Buffalo. And be careful on the weather. I was just looking that up. Looks like it's going to be a little windy and rain forecasted. So let's pay attention to that as we get closer to Sunday.
Yeah, it's still a little early to worry too much about that stuff.
Yeah,
as well. But that's what I was saying before with that. At least I think it was the Detroit game where at least they're in the dome.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about it. I hate Sunday morning.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo mid-December. You got to pay attention to what's going on, especially on a late afternoon game. So
and the Cowboys being a dome team, they are less inclined to these wet, rainy, this go many years of NFL sort of I don't know what, but of NFL background tells you that the dome team plays better in the dome. The minute they're outdoor in the cold and everything, there's a lot of history that says the team's not as good because they're just not used to the environment as much as the other team is. So Buffalo, their players don't care. Josh Allen doesn't care if it's snowing or raining. He's been playing in rain and snow his whole career. It's much more effective. It's much more of an effect on a team like Dallas that plays in a dome in Dallas in beautiful weather, perfect conditions every single game. So, I think it's just the Bills need it more. I do think the Cowboys are a better team than the Bills, though. But that doesn't matter. No. All right. That's going to do it for this one, guys. NFL Week 15. We covered the main slate. We covered the Saturday slate. We're going to save the Sunday night and Monday night football for Sharp App subscribers. John will be giving out his plays, of course, on those in the Sharp App Discord, as well as his top props and every bet that he does at all times, alongside with the incredible tools, the Proptimizer, the Sharp Report, the AI prediction models, the game centers, everything that you have available, everything that you need, the bet tracking, everything that you need is available on Sharp App. Download it today and use promo code DFSA20 to get 20% off your monthly subscription to Sharp App. It is an awesome betting site and really good, really good for your fantasy football plays as well. I bet NBA props every night and I don't watch those games. I just go with the numbers. It's been crushing. So I keep doing it. I really have had a lot of fun betting these props this year, just using the Proptimizer tool. So make sure to check that out. John, you could follow John on Twitter at Statsational or at the Sharp app. And we will see you guys next time on another Game Plan. Good luck this weekend, everybody.